Unpopular opinion, Netflix isn't the right place for DC. And this question, is Netflix the right place for DC, goes beyond Zack Snyder and the restoration of the Snyderverse. It has to be. It has to be about more than that. I love Zack Snyder. I adore his movies. I want the restoration of the Snyderverse, but not at any cost. Netflix have proven time and time again that they're not the right place for Warner Brothers Discovery, let alone DC. They forced Zack Snyder to cut 2-hour edits, edit together 2-hour edits of both Rebel Moon movies that destroyed the reputation of Rebel Moon in the public's eyes. The reviews were terrible because people didn't have an accurate perception of those movies because they were cut down to 2 hours. Exactly the same thing was done by WB with Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, with cutting 30 minutes from the movie. Zack Snyder is a prisoner of the studio system. He had no fucking choice. He had to pretend he was fine with this. Again, people hurting Zack Snyder's art. Netflix, in their great, mentally unadjusted ideas, thought it would be a good idea to make a documentary where people say Cleopatra was black. Netflix allowed the showrunner of The Witcher to bully and drive out Henry Cavill from The Witcher TV series. What of any of these things gives you the impression that Netflix is the right place for DC and Warner Brothers Discovery? It's not in any way, shape or form. I'm sorry, Snyderverse fans, I love you. I genuinely love you. I have some wonderful relationships and friendships with Snyderverse fans. I am a Snyderverse fan, but I'm also a DC fan and a fan of all-round entertainment, film and television. And I can't stand idly by while you lot keep on saying, well, it doesn't matter as long as the Snyderverse gets restored. If the Snyderverse gets restored and they force Zack Snyder to release 2-hour cuts first, then director's cuts, what's the point? Nothing's changed from what WB were doing to Zack Snyder and his artistic integrity. So why do you want this? I know you believe that Netflix is the only place that will restore the Snyderverse. I'm not too sure about that. I would like, my prerogative would be Apple or Universal. I think they're much better places for DC and Warner Brothers Discovery than Netflix. Netflix may have a lot of money, but they don't have the experience of running cinematic stories. They don't. They make small Netflix originals. They have got into bed with big studios before and made big productions. Most of them not very fucking good. Most Netflix originals are shite. They did one good season of Stranger Things and then in season 2 introduced Max, is it Max, the character's name, who ruined the whole fucking show, the red-haired bird, who everyone's wetting themselves about being in the new Spider-Man movie. Why'd you give a shit? She's a nobody. She's so overrated. Why are you so excited about her? Anyway, we're not here to talk about that film and that actress. So Netflix is not the right place for DC. Now, they brought in Dan Lin after Dan Lin rejected the advances of David Zaslav to be the co-CEO of DC Studios. Once Lin realised that he had to work with James Gunn, he said no, because Dan didn't believe that could work. Surprise, surprise, no shit Sherlock, it didn't work. Gunn was never gonna be successful. The DCU is dead, it's been cancelled, it's fucked, it's over. There's absolutely no debate. And we will see if they release the shit they've already made. I have my doubts, but we'll see. Anyway, yeah, Netflix is absolutely not the best place to restore the Snyderverse. They've proved it already. And to own DC. I don't think it's the right place. Are they the favourites? Are they not the favourites? No, they're just the latest people that the media is saying want to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. That doesn't mean they're automatically going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, but because most of you don't understand business, right? You may understand the basic language of entertainment, but entertainment news is different to business news. I've explained to you, this is the beginning of a very long journey. This sale, whoever purchases Warner Brothers Discovery, may not go through or be ratified for 2 years. When AT&T were in the process of buying Warner Brothers, that took a couple of years. These things take fucking time. So James Gunn may actually get to continue running DC, which is a fucking disaster. If I was Zaslav during the process of selling this company, he would be gone. He would be gone, and I'd allow people like Matt Reeves and different creatives to come in and do different takes until the company is sold. And the new company who owns Warner Brothers Discovery can make the new decisions for the future. But keeping Gunn in play isn't a fucking good idea, if you ask me. But what do I fucking know? Well, quite a fucking lot, and a lot more than David Zaslav. No. Netflix is going to be a disaster if they own DC and Warner Brothers Discovery, because they've already proven that. And Snyder fans, I'm surprised at you. I'm absolutely stunned by your attitude. You're the ones who were outraged by the treatment of how Warner Brothers treated Henry Cavill. Netflix have treated him exactly the same, maybe worse. And this is where you want DC to go. I understand you're Snyder fans. You don't really care about what happens to DC. But what happens to DC, that conversation has to go beyond Zack Snyder and whether or not Netflix are interested in restoring the Snyderverse. I believe that Zack's been in Netflix's ear ever since Army of the Dead. And clearly, they listened. Netflix could own DC. Me saying they're not the right place for DC doesn't matter, because I'm fucking nothing. I'm just a guy with an opinion. That's what I'm here to fucking do. But I don't think they're the right place. I think they're absolutely the wrong place. I think the same problems will rear their ugly heads all over again, especially with Zack Snyder. They're not really the place for artistic integrity. I don't believe they are. Sometimes, they gave, like Martin Scorsese, a lot of freedom with his, 4-hour gangster movie or whatever it was, a couple of years back. So I respect them for that. But I'm not sure if these are the people. If you judge them on their previous behaviour, just a few things that I've noted already on this video, doesn't exactly tell you this is the right place for DC. Look, the reality is there's not really any good options here. But I do think that Apple and Universal are better options than Netflix, and I believe that Apple and Universal would be open to restoring the Snyderverse. But as I say, it has to be about more than that. DC has so much potential to make great films and great TV shows. It has made great films and great TV shows in the past. Don't listen to people who say DC's always been shit. No, it hasn't. Superman 78 wasn't shit. Superman 2 wasn't shit. Superman 3 was okay. Superman 4 had a lot of problems in its budget, but its idea was a good and solid one, and in places it's quite entertaining. Superman Returns is a movie with great moments, but not necessarily a great movie, if you ask me. Man of Steel is a great movie. In my opinion, Batman vs Superman is a great movie. The Snyder Cut is a great movie, one of the great comic book movies ever made. Wonder Woman 2017, great movie. Aquaman, great movie. Black Adam, highly entertaining. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is okay. If they allowed David Ayer the freedom to make his Suicide Squad 2016, then that would have been cool as well. There's a lot to love. Tim Burton's Batman Returns, excellent movie. Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever is a solid movie. Release the Schumacher cut, absolutely right. Release the air cut, absolutely right. But it's not going to happen at DC Studios under James Gunn. When James Gunn wakes up in the morning, he only thinks about James Gunn. When James Gunn masturbates, he only masturbates about James Gunn. Let's be honest. James Gunn could be looking at them in the mirror with 6 people and he would only see James Gunn. James Gunn is an egotistical lunatic that's an okay, good, not bad, but not brilliant, not legendary, iconic writer-director. That's who James Gunn is. He's very average. He wouldn't have got in to old Hollywood. In old Hollywood, he would have got a job as the mailman, the coffee boy, someone who probably sleeps with the director privately, personally, but he would never have been allowed to write and direct movies. Isn't it crazy? This is crazy. That James Gunn had more artistic freedom than Zack Snyder. That tells you everything you need to know. So, Netflix isn't the answer. Now, if Netflix, who purposely brought Dan Lin at Netflix, because I think they want Dan Lin to run DC Studios, if they buy Warner Brothers Discovery. I don't know enough about Dan Lin to tell you if he's a good option or not. I mean, he's been at Netflix for a while. I haven't seen many changes, right? Still seems to be the same animal, the same beast. Although I thought it would have been a good idea for James Wan and Dan Lin to work together as co-CEOs of DC Studios. I know enough about Dan Lin to think and say, yeah, these are 2 guys along the same lines. It would have been much better than James Gunn and Peter Safran. And by the way, James Wan was driven out of WB by Zaslav and James Gunn and went to Universal. So if Universal Comcast was actually to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, then James Wan would be there. And maybe he could make great DC movies. Maybe he could be a co-CEO of DC Studios, or at the very least make DC movies. James Wan's a genius. He made a great Aquaman movie. I'll never change my mind about that. You will never be able to change my mind about that. So, I'm not sure about Netflix. I have my doubts. I'm very concerned about Netflix having their hands on Warner Brothers Discovery because we have a problem right now, and it's politically. We have very loud voices that are getting involved with entertainment. The far left, who have really got a stranglehold on modern day entertainment right now, they always wanted in. They always wanted to have that stranglehold on entertainment, and they got it. Look what fucking happened, right? So the extreme left hate straight white males, and the extreme right hate everybody else. And the moderates are being silenced, out-shouted. They can't hear our voices, right? Our fair-minded, compassionate voices, because the extreme left and the extreme right are shouting over us. I'm talking about movies here, DC, and I'm talking about politics, because it's part of the process now, and that is a fucking problem. There's so many problems that have to be sorted out, have to be stopped. Hollywood needs fucking fumigation. It's as simple as that. And it needs fumigation from the political extremists. And the extreme right are no better than the extreme left. Get out of my fucking industry. And, by the way, Netflix is full of extreme leftists. There's the problem. We've seen it. We've seen it. That's the problem with The Witcher. Fan fiction. A feminist's fan fiction. That's why she drove out Henry Cavill. So we're going to get people like the Witcher lady running DC TV and films. That's what's going to fucking happen. This is why they're the worst place possible for DC. And that's why I'm saying either Apple or Universal. If I was a betting man, don't be surprised if Apple and Universal partner up, merge up, and then buy Warner Brothers Discovery. But I would say the people who've got most money and could just click their fingers and buy Warner Brothers Discovery would absolutely be universal. And I wouldn't be upset about that, but Netflix are no way the right people right now, as I see it, to own DC Comics.